Youth and Sports Malaysia to deliver his remarks. Silakan Yang Berhormat.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera dan salam negaraku satu Malaysia. Terima kasih pengacara majlis yang bahagia Tan Sri Datuk Sri Ranjit, Pengerusi Suruhanjaya Security Tan Sri Ahmad Syam, Pengerusi Bursa Malaysia Datuk Ahmad Fairuz, Datuk Tajudin, Datuk-Datuk, Datin-Datin, Tuan-Tuan, Puan-Puan yang saya hormati sekalian. Pertamanya saya ingin merakamkan ucapan ribuan terima kasih penghargaan saya kepada Suruhanjaya Security Malaysia Tan Sri Ranjit dan rakan-rakan atas jemputan untuk sekali lagi merasmikan InvestSmart yang telah saya rasmikan 3 tahun lepas buat julung-julung kali ini. Ini merupakan satu program yang penting bukan hanya untuk generasi sekarang, tetapi selama 9 bulan setelah kita melancarkan Dialog Transformasi Nasional 2050, saya telah diamanahkan oleh Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri untuk mengumpul aspirasi daripada rakyat Malaysia, terutamanya generasi muda. Dan setakat ini kita telah berjaya mengumpulkan tidak kurang daripada 80,000 aspirasi khusus, specific aspirations, mendampingi hampir 1.5 juta belia, sama ada melalui program face to face ataupun melalui media sosial. Dan sebahagian besar daripada aspirasi itu menyentuh soal pembangunan sosioekonomi kita. Dan sebahagian besar itu juga menyentuh soal masa depan kewangan peribadi rakyat Malaysia. Dan bagi saya usaha InvestSmart antaranya untuk menggalakkan generasi muda, bukan hanya terhad kepada generasi muda, tetapi salah satu daripada sasaran pemegang taruh ataupun stakeholder yang penting InvestSmart adalah generasi muda, untuk menggalakkan mereka dalam bidang pelaburan adalah sangat-sangat penting untuk kita menjamin masa depan negara kita. Sebab itu saya mengucapkan syabas dan tahniah sekali lagi kepada Securities Commission. Congratulations to Tan Sri Ranjit once again. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be back with the SC after about 3 years ago at Taylor's University, where we launched the first InvestSmart. Tan Sri Ranjit invited me to launch and officiate at the first InvestSmart. I was puzzled why the SC was asking the Minister of Youth and Sports to officiate one of their functions. I only concluded that there were no other ministers available on that day. I was the last choice. But then Tan Sri Ranjit assured me, again I'm not sure if I'm the last choice today, Tan Sri Ranjit assured me it was because there was a focus on the younger generation and encouraging the youth of Malaysia to participate in the nation's capital markets, as well as to expose them to secure investment instruments and assets. And I felt that that was an important mission and an important objective to fulfill. The mission to get more Malaysians, especially young Malaysians, to start investing is not something that is unfamiliar to all of us. Many of us in this hall today, whether we are from government, whether we're from government agencies, or whether we're from the private sector, who are motivated by also their profits, we are all in the business of trying to encourage more young Malaysians to invest, especially young Malaysians to invest for their own financial security. The SC has run many campaigns like InvestSmart to help young Malaysians rise above this hesitation of wanting to invest to secure their future. Bursa, I know Tan Sri Ahmad Syam and Datuk Tajudin, has also initiated many initiatives. Bursa Young Investor Club, and I've been part of these programs as well. Bank Negara Malaysia as well has started with their financial inclusion program to ensure that more young people decide to invest their money. The same messages are being pushed out by all of us, that young people should invest for the future. It's no longer just for a rainy day, but it's making a sound decision to invest for their future. The word savings, I think we should move away from that because it's associated with young people just putting some of their money in their savings account. And you know, with inflation and the opportunity cost of not investing in other instruments, that will decrease the real value of their savings. They, of course, young people are looking at and concerned about their cost of living. A lot of that, of course, will have to be dealt with by trying to increase their incomes, by growing the economy, by trying to alleviate the pressure of living costs, by providing better housing, including public housing, and also public transport like the MRT, by reducing the amount of money that young Malaysians and Malaysians have to spend on housing and transport. But it also is about encouraging young Malaysians in investing, because by investing, they secure returns on their money, and that can also assist them not only in the future, but also in addressing some of their cost of living issues in the near future as well. The mission for getting young people and Malaysians to start investing is now very, very important. And I think I've been invited this year at the right time. Spearheading this Transformasi Nasional 2050 or TN50 has opened up a lot of hard truths for me and for Malaysians as well. For the current generation of our leadership, we are very much focused on the near term and the medium term. But I'm happy that the Prime Minister has this 30-year horizon in front of him. Because if we don't prepare for the next generation by making key decisions today, then we're preparing to fail the future generation. One of the hard truths that we have learned through the TN50 dialogues is that by 2035, we will be an aging population. There will be more Malaysians over the age of 65 than under the age of 15 for the first time ever in our history. Coupled with that, by the year 2050, as you saw the video just now, we will be expected to live up to and probably beyond 100 years old. So with an aging population and with longevity increased, we have the unique problem of thinking about how to fund retirement, or even how to imagine retirement in the future, or maybe even for us to make retirement obsolete altogether and continue to work in some way, at least until we are closer towards our jangka hayat or life expectancy. Consider the fact, also another hard truth, that 65% of EPF contributors having less than 50,000 ringgit in their EPF accounts by the time they retire. That is an equivalent of 820 ringgit a month for just 5 years. Imagine they retire at 60 years old. That takes them to 65. If they spend 820 ringgit a month, which they will not, they'll spend much more than that. That will take them to 65. Consider the fact that they might have another 35 years to live, 30 years to live, 25 years to live. How do we fund the retirement of Malaysia in the future? That has been a key concern of TN50, and I've had this opportunity to raise this with young Malaysians. Young Malaysians think about a lot of things. The last thing they think about is health and retirement. Because being young, these things are too far down the line in the future. But through TN50, I've been able to drill on these themes, saying that it's not too soon for you to think about retirement, and it's not too soon to think about how you look after yourselves in your latter years. Moreover, we've also discovered that in terms of social mobility through TN50, what is more important than income is also your wealth. And this has been something that economists have been discussing over the last 2-3 years, after the French economist Thomas Piketty produced a very, very seminal thesis on the fact that it's wealth and not income disparity that's important, because it is wealth disparity that you inherit. It is wealth disparity that continues to consign you to your socio-economic cohort, and it is wealth, or rather the absence of wealth, that results in social immobility. Throughout the TN50 process, we've discovered that young Malaysians want a more fair, a more egalitarian society, where not equal, as in communism, but egalitarian in the sense that nobody is left behind. That nobody just inherits wealth and continues to occupy that socio-economic strata simply because they inherited it. So we have to start thinking about how we build wealth. And building wealth is, of course, through investments also. Income alone is not enough. We've done a lot in reducing income disparity over the last 20, 30 years, but now it's also about reducing wealth disparity so that people don't inherit wealth and also inherit poverty. In spite of all the efforts that we've done, and we've done so much through government, through our regulatory agencies, through the private sector, now through schools, young Malaysians are still not investing enough. According to Personal Wealth's Young Investor Survey 2016, carried out by the Edge publication, only 7% of the respondents invest more than 30% of their monthly income, while 45% only allocate 5% or less of their monthly income for investments. The rest, well, they just don't invest at all. Among the reasons given, lack of interest, insufficiency of knowledge, low financial literacy, lack of short of funds, this is a reality also, and capital, are amongst the major contributors to this very, very worrying trend. The education system that we have today has contributed some, but not enough, in enlightening our young pupils about financial literacy. That's why I'm happy that Tan Sri Raja is working together with Kementerian Pendidikan Malaysia to increase financial literacy, to expose our young students to planning about personal financial decisions. This, combined with a high rate of bankruptcy amongst young people, as well as previously the extremely punitive effect of being a bankrupt, has pushed away our young people from investing. 27% of all bankruptcy cases from 2013 until September last year are Malaysians between the ages of 24 and 34, making it 22,581 cases in total. Thankfully, we're moving forward. We've amended the Insolvency Act 1967, and this will make it easier for us to discharge people who have been declared bankrupt. But we have a lot more to do in trying to encourage people in overcoming the stigma of bankruptcy, in trying to invest their money. Before we continue in all of this, ladies and gentlemen, I think we should just step back and try and understand young people. That's why I'm here as the Minister of Youth. Central to looking at this target audience is understanding the millennials, who see the world differently from all of us. I say us because I also do not qualify as a millennial. I'm actually just one generation above them, and they're very, very different from my generation. This is the first generation that lives and breathes in the digital world. 93% of millennials own at least one mobile phone, of which 65% owns a very, very chunky smartphone. Gone were the days where you can imagine life without one. 63% of them overtly say they cannot live life without a smartphone. It is as essential as water, electricity, clothing, and shelter. The typical millennial lives their lives daily, digitally. They wake up using not an alarm clock, as we used to do, but on their mobile phones. They immediately, after they wake up, the first thing they do is not brush their teeth, but check their Twitter feed, check their Instagram feed, and also connect with their friends, and later check their work email. I made to understand. Most times, they go to work either with public transport, relying on their mobile phones for navigations, or to keep them company in the MRT. They don't talk to people, they look at their screens. Sometimes, when they're feeling a bit rich, they use digital services like Grab or Uber to go from home to work or to go to lunch. They're all wired up during their working hours, and even if they socialize after work, it is with their phone, keeping themselves occupied and keeping themselves up to speed with the latest news, the latest hashtag, the latest gossip, which minister is being criticized today, and so on and so forth. Sometimes they don't even go out to socialize. They socialize digitally and they watch entertainment online. This is a lifestyle of instant gratification and simplicity. This is what you need to understand about young people. They want simplicity and they want instant gratification, which is so difficult to fulfill. They expect the same simplicity and as instant gratification as you can give them when it comes to investments also. A survey done by Forbes found that millennials prefer minimalism and simplicity when it comes to investing. 2/3 of them agreed that mobile banking is the easiest to use. We are all too aware that the current complex setting up process of investing is a deterrent to young people, but when you look closely at how they live their lives, deterrent really is an understatement. They just don't want to go through the processes. They want it to be one click. And I'm glad that Tan Sri Ranjit also mentioned scams and that you have this scam buster run. One of the reasons why scams are popular amongst young people is they make it easy and they go down to their level of understanding. It's simple for them to understand. Untung cepat, kaya cepat, dapat kereta cepat. What's not to understand about that? And it's easy for them because it's just one WhatsApp away from them giving their banking details and for them ruining their future. So that is what we are up against. We are up against a black market industry of scams which understand the psyche of young people. They understand the psyche of Malaysians, gullible, wanting to make a quick buck and wanting to make it as quick as possible. I believe that young people will start to invest more if it is as easy as getting a Grab car, communicating on Facebook and WhatsApp, getting food from Damakan, getting news from Twitter, or any of these technology and applications that run their lives. Looking abroad, many fintech startups have made full use of this desire for simplicity. Betterment, for example, is a simple-to-use robo-advisor that helps users make the most out of their money based on the risk you are willing to take. Mobile solutions such as Robinhood and Acorns provide investment services, but with simplicity at its core, be it by zero fees like the former charges, or the automated investment of your spare change run by Acorns. Ironically, we don't have much of these apps and technology yet here in Malaysia. But I believe we're moving in the right direction. Governor of Bank Negara has kick-started this. In his first speech, he called for financial institutions to embrace the opportunities that come from fintech innovations. Bank Negara has approved already 4 firms to operate within its regulatory sandbox, while the SC and Bursa are embracing this progress through various digitalization initiatives of their own existing programs. But this process, ladies and gentlemen, needs to be faster because the young generation are extremely impatient and they move quicker than we ever imagined. Beyond embracing fintech, another thing that both Tan Sri Ranjit and I are on the same page, judging by his speech earlier, is behavioral economics. The Nobel Prize this year for economics went to Professor Richard Taylor, who initiated and pioneered behavioral economics in the work of the nudging theory, believing that people are not rational, as believed by classical economists, that people are inherently irrational. And his theory on nudges not only signifies the growing importance of behavioral economics, but also highlights the importance of nuanced strategy, how you nuance certain things, and how messaging by the government, by institutions, and by companies are important to get people to do the right thing, or the right thing as far as we believe it to be. This is especially important in indulging young millennials. Not only do they desire simplicity, they also grow up in an age where there's a complete overload of information. If you're a young person, the information overload you get on a daily basis is tremendous. That's why I'm surprised they can make a choice and decision even after all of that. Contrary to all generations before, every hour, if not every minute, millennials are overwhelmed with choices of products, services that are being pushed and targeted towards them. More often than not, in getting to spend today and not investing in the future. You're also competing with people trying to sell them things today instead of invest in the future. Instant gratification from the former aggregated by this subliminal aversion towards having matured at a time of economic crisis and the tightening middle class, has pushed investment lower down the millennials' decision-making today. Imagine, this is a generation that has grown up throughout multiple financial crises. Some of them grew up as young students during the 1997-98 Asian financial crisis. And most of them have remembered the financial crisis that we just went through during the last decade. The last thing that they're thinking about is investing my money in the capital markets, because this is not safe. So they'd rather spend it on something. New phone, new pair of sneakers, or taking their friends out on the weekend. That's why we need to go down into behavioral economics, understand their psyche, and start selling and pushing them subliminally. Governments from all over the world, from Singapore to the United States, have started incorporating nudges or generating behavioral insights into policy implementation through what they call behavioral insight teams, or BIT, or nudge units. The UK National Health Service is expecting an extra 100,000 organ donors every year, all by nudging something on their website, just subliminally. And they managed to get 100,000 more organ donors this year after a successful trial by their behavioral insight team. This effect is equally effective if pushed through the private sector, with a famous example of how Campbell increased the soup cans bought per customer from 3.3 to 7 cans through a message of limiting buy for each person. So subliminal messages work, including for political parties also. We will see more and more behavioral economic theories being applied in government and organizations around the world, and it's about time that we learn lesson 2 in trying to incorporate some of these things in encouraging positive lifestyle. What I like just now about the speech from the chairman is that they spoke tentang tabiat ataupun gaya hidup, habit of investing. Building a developed country, making a developed country in the year 2050 is not just about your buildings, not just about your GDP numbers. It's also about affecting a lifestyle change and culture and values about how we live our lives. As Minister of Sport, one of the greatest challenges that I have is trying to change the lifestyle of Malaysians to become more healthy and fit. Our non-communicable disease numbers are through the roof. Yes, we were SEA Games champion, but we are also Southeast Asia champions in diabetes and obesity. Let's not forget that. And changing that comes from changing lifestyle. If you don't change your lifestyle, some people tell me, stop being a nanny state government telling us what to do, how to live our lives. It has nothing to do with you if I choose to be obese. And I tell them it has everything to do with me. Because if you don't look after yourselves, the public health bill is going to be paid by the taxpayer to look after you when you are sick, when you have to amputate the leg, when you have to look after your coronary bypass procedure. Similarly, changing culture, values, and lifestyle when it comes to investing is also the mark of a developed country. We will not be a top 20 country in the world until we effect these shifts in attitudes, lifestyle, and culture. Becoming a healthier country, becoming a more informed country when it comes to investing money and investing your assets. Not just for a rainy day, but also because you are informed, you are empowered. I want to see in 2050, Malaysians, young and old, taking control of their personal financial decisions. Maybe not making the investment calls themselves, but at least they are literate and they know what are sound investments to make. They can assess risk properly, and the days and age of the Ponzi scheme coming in and ripping us off are over, not because of enforcement, but because of attitudes and knowledge and exposure to sound investment decision making. So once again, I'd like to thank Invest Malaysia for this wonderful initiative. Please continue, and for as long as I am able and in this position, I'll continue to support this initiative, because this is about the future. Without this, without exposing them to investment and securing the future today, we have no TN50. With that, dengan lafaz Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, saya dengan segala sukacita dia merasmikan InvestSmart 2017. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Yang berhormat Khairy Jamaludin. YB, if you can kindly remain on stage, I'd like to invite Country Chairman and our other distinguished guests onto the stage to officially launch InvestSmart Fest 2017.